the hardcore fans, there was a lot of uproar about it. Like, hey, this is bullshit. What is the criteria? But it's like, but guys, the mainstream fans, everybody goes, oh, George, yeah, I heard about that guy, or made a watch with the guys that are new to the sport, and they're going to tune in and watch it. And if you're on the roster, that's why like everybody always used to get frustrated with the Brock Lesnar stuff. Brock Lesnar gets this, gets that. I'm like, yeah, but that's because he has that kind of buying power.
Right.
Excellent segue, Frank, because people are still getting frustrated by Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar has retired again from MMA. Breaking news, Brock Lesnar has retired. The word was that Brock was going to fight Daniel Cormier maybe sometime over the summer. That's certainly something Cormier wanted. But according to Dana White, Brock Lesnar has informed the UFC that he will retire from MMA. And so now Cormier versus Stipe Miocic, the rematch is targeted for August. Frank, do you believe that Brock Lesnar is going to retire, because he talks about retiring a lot?
I think he'll come back. He's still young enough and athletic enough, obviously, and has a name that, what's he going to do? Sit on the farm? I mean, he's been in the limelight since he was in college. He's been a spectacle, and then right out of college he goes into pro wrestling, and then he's made a career in the UFC also. So I just don't see that guy really fucking, what is he, 42?
Let me
41?
look it up. He's in his 40s.
Yeah, early 40s. And so, I mean, he's going to hang it up. I mean, I think it's just, personally, Brock, whether it's him or whether the people behind him is pretty intelligent, the marketing and management aspect of this. I don't think the UFC gave him enough money for him to take the fight. So I think he's like, well, fuck you guys, I'll retire.
Creates heat. It creates heat.
Yeah.
You start saying that, and
then
then
like,
money
okay,
can
let's
go
see.
up.
Okay, you don't want to give me what I want? Let's see what Stipe gets you guys.
He's going to be 42 in July. I think with Brock, his middle name is Edward, by the way. Never knew that. I think that the thing with Brock is it's always about.
Yeah, I can see Eddie.
Yeah, it's always.
He looks
about,
like an Eddie.
You retired, Eddie.
It's always about negotiation tactics with him, because he is in a very unique situation in this regard. That we always talk about how, like, if you're with the UFC, everybody's working for the same promoter, and that way there's no competition and the fighters don't get paid as much. But in his case, he's kind of like a marquee boxer, like a guy who is a free agent and, well, gee, do I go with Golden Boy or do I go with Bob Arum or whatever? Because that's what the WWE and the UFC are to him. Every time one of these, little 2-3 fight deals, 1 year deal with the WWE, whatever it is, comes up due, it's like, well, do I go live with mom or do I go live with dad? And he gets them fighting for his attention.
See, I agree with him. When I saw him go step into the octagon with Cormier after Cormier won his last fight and he pushed him, to me it was it looked rehearsed almost. Just because the smile that Cormier had afterwards, and it just to me, I was like, he's doing this to build up what he's got going over in wrestling. Yeah. When they were talking about Cormier and Lesnar fighting, I never saw it happening. And in my mind, being a fan of the UFC, I wanted to see Stipe and Cormier fight again. I didn't want to see him fight Lewis. I didn't want to see any other fights. I know he went down to light heavyweight and fought there as well. I felt like Stipe deserved that shot.
Well, I mean, we're both on record as saying that Cormier would blow Lesnar out of the water, but it sucks for Cormier to actually miss out on this, because it would have been a nice payday for him.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I get why he wanted to do it. I mean, he's a guy who's already passed his self-imposed retirement date and all that.
Yeah.
And when he's been on the biggest stages in terms of the biggest pay-per-view buys of his career and the most people watching it, he's come up short with Jones. So it would have been nice for him to get a legitimate.
Then why not go back after Jones?
Pay-per-view. Cormier and Jones again?
Why not do it?
I mean, he'd have. Well, there's a couple of things. He'd have to go
I don't think
back.
he could beat him. I just think.
Yeah,
but listen. I think Cormier thinks he could.
No, I think that Cormier has been in there with John.
And he knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that one guy that's just got your card?
Yeah, he just has his card, man.
It's like
but John has everybody's fucking card.
Yeah,
I mean,
what if they fought at heavyweight? And I think I've seen something where Jones said I would never fight him at heavyweight because that's like his area.
Yeah.
And he knows that.
Jones has talked about going up to heavyweight before for various reasons. He's been mentioned as an opponent for Brock Lesnar too. But Frank has said this, that when you don't realize, it's easy to lose sight of the fact that Daniel Cormier is the second greatest light heavyweight in MMA history.
Yeah. Ever.
He is. I mean, all he did was lose to John Jones.
That's it.
Yeah. And everybody else.
And gave him a
he's
close fight
dominated.
the first time, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. He's won rounds against John,
Yeah.
which is more than
And
a lot of
I don't
fighters
think
have
John would want to fight him at heavyweight for the reason being that if you watch even the second fight, Cormier landed shots on John. I think one of the shots even knocked his mouthpiece out.
done. Uppercuts. He
Yeah.
had a lot of success with.
Now that's the 220-pound version of Cormier.
Where he'd be
I don't think
240,
that
245.
220-pound version of Cormier can knock John out. I don't think the 220-pound version of Cormier can knock out Stipe. But now all of a sudden, and I got this more or less, I seen it, but then I really pieced it together when I was talking to Josh Thompson, who's one of his training partners, trains there with him, even though he's a lighter guy, but he's one of his teammates, talking about, hey, all of a sudden Cormier, when he got up to about 240, 245 again, knocking guys out in sparring, where he wasn't doing that before.
Right.
It's like, like now he's back to where his power's back, so he has more ass behind him to throw those punches. So I think that it's a much closer fight and winnable fight for Cormier at heavyweight.
At heavyweight.
And John's a very analytical, cage fighting wise, the guy's fucking a genius, and he has Greg Jackson who knows what he's doing, sitting there talking to him going, hey, we already got 2 wins over this guy. Why are we going to make it easier for him to get a third? He's extremely motivated to get a third fight. Let's just go. Hey, it ain't broken. Tell him he has to beat us at 205. Like, let's make it to where he has to. We're not going to make it easy for him. He's still the second best guy in the world,
Yeah, he's and I like I said, I wonder if the whole thing is a serious commitment to not taking the fight against Cormier, or if this ends up being something that happens and it's just a matter of a negotiating ploy.
Well, here's the thing I thought about it. First, I was like, you're negotiating. I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden they pull Stipe out and put, Lesnar in. But the problem is that he announced retirement. So guess what happens when he says, I'm unretired?
Out of the testing.
He's got to go back into testing.
He's got to go back into testing for 6 months.
Didn't they? What did they do though? Do you remember when he fought?
And
fought
Mark Hunt tried to sue the shit out of him for it.
Right, because
he ended up testing positive.
Well, I remember that, but also, did he have to adhere to that normal 6-month window?
No.
I don't think he did.
No, he
right?
didn't.
Did they just give him an exemption for that? Oh boy.
Yeah, but obviously, I guess they can do whatever the fuck they want to do.
Yeah.
But the last time he gave the guy an exemption, it came out that he had, shit in the system.
Right.
Yeah,
how
you're
do
not
you
getting that again.
Yeah, you're not getting that. I think Lesnars and the Connors of the world can get away with obviously a lot more than anybody else can.
Yeah.
I don't think that you can get away with that.
Right.
I think that might be just one step too far.
Yeah.
I think the commissions would even, I don't know. Everybody might be a little,
How close do they test you? Are you being tested like that day? Can they
Yeah.
test you? They prick a finger or something?
Yeah, well, it's a urine test, and they do blood usually right after the fight if they're going to do blood, or they could do blood like 2 weeks before the fight. They try not to do blood, obviously, within a couple days of the fight.
Right.
But it's urine the whole time that they use, and then what they do is a testing pool, and so when you first come out of retirement,
Yeah.
to basically dissuade people from going on a steroid retreat, basically. Going, hey, I'm going to retire so I don't have to be tested. Then I can juice up and build my body up to a certain level. And then I'm unretired, get everything out of my system, and then, coast basically a slow decline,
Into a
a
fight.
month or 2 months out from a fight. So their mindset is like, well, we'll make you have to take a 6-month period of getting tested with no competition. So that way there's really no
You can't do
advantage.
that.
Yeah,
Right.
you're going to juice up and then coast for 6 months.
You can't coast for 6 months.
No.
Yeah.